So, you just reached level 60. That childhood dream of yours to become something greater is finally fulfilled. You feel accomplished. But for some reason, that feeling of excitement is suddenly replaced by a growing emptiness. You take a step back and stop to think for a bit. And what you soon realize is that your mind is occupied by a single question. What am I supposed to do now? Many of us remember Flyff as an adventure that we used to enjoy when we were still young, including me. How we were captivated by its colorful design and engaging combat, had our eyes glued on the high-level players with cool-looking gear, and dreamed at least once about becoming like them someday. But what many of us didn't think of back then was that when we eventually do reach that point, what would our next goal be? Flyff is a very grindy game, and after all that work that you put into reaching level 60, it might initially seem impossible to think of anything else beyond that as remotely achievable, or even enjoyable for that matter. But fortunately, that isn't quite the case. There's still so much that you can achieve in Flyff aside from reaching the second job, and what you really lack is the knowledge of what the game has to offer. In fact, I believe that reaching level 60 is when the game really begins. My name is Emenalus, your self-proclaimed game psychologist, and that one pants-on-head insane animal that nobody asked for, and I'm not a licensed doctor. On today's topic, I will be talking about what you should do if you find yourself lost in Flyff Universe. As new levels continue to become increasingly harder to achieve, one of the most important things to do is have a change in mentality and start looking at the bigger picture. On top of aiming for the maximum level, you might want to give yourself some additional, more achievable goals to work on as you're leveling. Things like saving up for a new piece of jewelry, or that cool weapon that is out in the market, or maybe making upgrades to existing equipment could work as a strong motivator to keep you going, and not dread the time that it takes to reach the required level for your next power spike. Talking about power spikes, in case you haven't caught up on the pattern yet, new armor sets and special weaponry always become available every 15 levels, like at 60, 75, 90, and so on. These generally grant you better stat bonuses than the previous stuff, assuming that the items weren't designed for a different build like AoE or 1v1, and serve as great long-term goals to save up for, amongst other things. An important lesson to learn here, if you haven't already, is that leveling in Flyff was never meant to be a stepping stone, but a journey to remember. So no matter how much time grinding for something you want takes, do try to make the most out of your experience. And in case you're not really sure yet what to go for or what your future holds, Flyffipedia's item search is your best friend for making discoveries. As usual, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can explore it freely later. Assuming that you've recently reached level 60, or at least gotten somewhat close to it, the mere thought of suddenly spending your hard-earned money on a bunch of upgrades must sound like crazy talk to you. All this time you've been living from hand to mouth, barely able to afford anything else than food and sheer attribute, and even that hasn't been a guarantee. Money doesn't exactly grow on trees! Or well, at least it didn't used to. Literally. I'm not sure if you noticed by now, but you started to make quite a fortune from selling all those drops you've been looting from monsters. The money you earn from them is already quite promising, starting from level 40 and above, and only gets better the higher you go. At this point, you're probably earning hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions with every shop run, which should leave you plenty of extra to spend on something nice, like a new giraffe hat. Reaching level 60 is an exciting time in Flyff Universe, as not only do you become much stronger, you also start to have much more control over your economy, which opens up plenty of opportunities to improve your character and be more involved with the market. And because leveling is such an effort at this point in the game, any upgrades that you make will likely stick with you for quite a long time, making the investments worthwhile. In case you're concerned about wasting too much money on early upgrades though, don't worry. You can always just sell your things forward to another player who might be interested in using your old stuff. Getting back to the point though, making money becomes much more viable upon reaching your second job. But not only does making money through grinding get better, your character also starts to be strong enough to confidently handle alternative farming methods such as hunting giants or running dungeons. This, of course, can heavily depend on what class you're playing, whether you have any buffs available or other players you could team up with, but the option is out there in case you're prepared for it. In brief, hunting giants can occasionally drop you those rare weapons that I mentioned earlier, and depending on which weapon it is, it can fetch a pretty high price when sold to players or prevent you from having to buy one for yourself. Giants hit quite hard, and being struck by one of their special abilities could mean death, so either having a tanky character or some good buffs that allow you to run away in time are crucial. Dungeons, on the other hand, can drop some cage keys, which can be sold by themselves for a good price, or you can try your luck with opening the cages within these dungeons. If you're lucky, the cage will drop you a raised pet that you can sell as a sacrificial pawn for pet rerolls for a much better price than the keys themselves. The keys can be dropped by both monsters and bosses inside the dungeon, so farming them isn't quite as tough as killing giants, but the monsters themselves are already much tougher than your regular ones, so extra caution is advised. There's a lot more into dungeons than that, but more into that some other time. In any case, there's now more options for earning some money open in case you need some variety and excitement from time to time. Dungeons and farming giants, of course, were already possible before level 60, but now's about the time when you can make some real earnings from doing them and probably not die a horrible death. However, as both of these methods involve dealing with low drop rates, it's highly recommended to be in a party with drop buffs available to you to maximize your profits. And while on the topic of being in a party, I think it's about time you started making some friends. As the old saying goes, the more the merrier. At the end of the day, Flyff is an MMO, and that means that it was designed to be played with others in mind. While forming a connection with someone new might feel a little scary at first, making friends and forming a community around you can be one of the greatest motivators to keep you engaged. Occasional chats, having a leveling partner, or joining a guild for example, can lead to great social opportunities to make some good memories from and feel like you're part of something bigger. Heck, if you got a nice friend group chemistry going on, you could just go and make a guild yourself. You don't have to know exactly what for just yet, just go for it if you feel like it. Unite together with your pals and make it official. And I better be getting an invite too. On top of the social aspect, having people to play with is also an advantage if you wish to tackle giants and dungeons more effectively. While it is possible to also do them by yourself, they're also quite difficult and might require you to have some pretty good gear to make up for the lack of players, which you might not have when first starting out. Besides, what greater opportunity is there to gather up and spend the evening with your pals than cooperative gameplay and some cool rewards? Personally, I think it's worth the experience even if it does mean that you'll have to split the profits at the end of it. You can do this by simply forming a group with your friends and hope they're all up for it, or consider joining a suitable guild for the sake of finding like-minded players and making it easy to gather people for a group contest regularly. Mind you that guilds can have very different focuses and energy in them, so joining just about any guild might not work out and finding your ideal might not happen the first time. Whether you like something hardcore and endgame oriented, or prefer a more laid-back and casual community, that choice is yours to make. There's guilds out there for just about any type of a player, and it's all up to you to find the one that suits you the best. The amount of social commitment you want to put into the game ultimately rests in your hands, but just remember, despite the amount of bots you might encounter in your adventures, there still are some real players out there for you to meet, and a little kindness goes a long way. Over the course of the video, we've talked a lot about money, how you can make millions in a relatively short amount of time, and how there are many different things you can do to earn it. But every character, in their own uniqueness, has their own strengths and weaknesses, and all of them aren't equally as suitable for every task. So if you really wanted to specialize in a certain money-making method or playstyle, then what should you do? The answer to that is surprisingly simple. Just make another character. Hearing that might sound a little discouraging at first after all the work that you put into your existing character, but if you really want to expand your horizons and make new characters, now's a better time to do it than ever. The first character is always the toughest, but now that you have the means to provide all the money you need, gearing your next one won't be nearly as difficult. Because after all, you can freely trade any equipment across your characters. Thanks to your newfound wealth and a great character customizability, I'm sure you'll find a way to build just the kind of character you need to get into farming regular mobs efficiently, hunting giants optimally, or to perhaps fill a gap in your dungeon group. Imagination is the only limit, and severe issues with money should be a thing of the past. Of course, making another character doesn't have to be only about the money. Perhaps there was another job that you really wanted to play, but you heard it was really expensive to start with? Well, worry no more. You should have the funding of that character now covered. It will still take some grinding, but at least it's not nearly as difficult to achieve as with your first one. So chase your dreams and make your ideal character with the kickstart that you just achieved. And don't forget that you can also play characters simultaneously if you're using multiple accounts, so maybe you can use them to help each other out too and create a network of characters. Whatever your goal is, consider building on a much larger foundation than just your main, building yourself a family. With that being said, that's all that I've got for you for now. I know it wasn't as much of a guide this time around, but I hope that this helped at least some of you who may have felt like they no longer found purpose behind their adventures in Flyff. If this did help you though, consider letting me know in the comments below and leaving a like. Share with your friends who may suffer from a similar burden as you did, and perhaps find a reason to gather up your mates once more. Oh, and do consider subscribing for more wild content like this. You won't be finding another giraffe like me elsewhere. But until the next video, it's bye-bye.